Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Players Club. I'm your host, Levi Valentine, at Levi_Valentine on Twitter. Joining me are my co-hosts, Brent Heikes. Follow him at Brent Heikes, Heikes on Twitter. And Trevin Cremosta, whose tweets are still too hot for your eyes. We're also joined tonight by special guest Alex Duchesne's, friend of the show. You know him, you love him, at Duchesne's_ on Twitter. We were also going to have your Campus to Canton League co-owner on, Duchesne's, Omega. Or is it Dan Campbell? I'm not sure what he's going by these days.
It would have been Dan Campbell if he was on.
They are doppelgangers for sure. But unfortunately, he's having some connectivity issues. So maybe he'll hop in the chat and join us throughout the show. But Duchesne's, welcome back. Have you recovered from draft night?
It's been a long road to recovery, a lot of reflection, but we're making our way back. You know, it's a 12-step process.
Are you still a Patriots fan?
I guess.
You haven't burned all your jerseys yet?
I've always been a hesitant Patriots fan. Hesitant to call myself one, but yeah. I don't have any jerseys. I have a Peterman jersey. That's it.
We already got a question about that. It is a Nathan Peterman jersey, Alex Johnson. What step of the 12 steps are you in?
I'm on like 4 or 5. I've been making some real progress. What are we, 3 weeks out?
Nice.
I think so.
I expect to be recovered by the beginning of the season.
Are you liking Mac Jones a little more?
No, but I have to root for him now. That was the biggest thing. I just didn't want to have to root for him, you know? But I guess we'll have to. I'll be I'll criticize the shit out of him, though.
Yeah. I actually drafted him in one of my other Superflex leagues. I couldn't pass him up. I kind of needed a quarterback, and I had the 11th pick, and he was sitting there, so I took a chance on him.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit. I got quite a bit of Mac Jones before the draft. I got him in quite a few leagues because I needed the quarterback, and he was falling even more than where I have him, so.
Alex says it's brave to show that jersey.
I love that jersey.
I don't know if Alex understands irony or not. So. Duchesne, is it true that the first step is the hardest?
It is. I mean, did you see me that night? That's the first step.
That's why it's hard to believe you're not a big Patriots fan, because we all saw how you reacted to something you didn't like.
I feel like most Patriots fans had the exact opposite reaction.
You think they liked the Mac Jones pick?
I think they loved it. That's what I've heard. People hate. They're all done with Cam Newton. They want Mac Jones because he's like the next Tom Brady.
Is that the story on Boston Sports Radio? I know you listen to that on occasion.
The story is that they're just glad they got a guy because they were all done with Cam Newton.
Well, we'll see if it works out for him. Better than Zach Wilson, am I right?
So we did ask. We asked last week which rookie quarterback should be starting game 1. What do you think about Mac Jones? Is he going to be starting week 1?
Absolutely not.
Which week do you think he gets his first start? Does he start this year at some point?
I would lean slightly. Yeah, he might, but it's pretty 50-50, I think, right now.
You'll turn. You'll be big. Next, when you have you on next year, you'll have a Mac Jones jersey.
Yeah, I'll get the bod going, dye my hair blonde. And...
Yep. Can't wait till you name your first child McCorkle.
I'll give up on the Gardner Minshew look. I'll go for the Mac Jones bod. Easier.
Cam Newton will start all year, Alex says, unless injured.
I tend to think that myself.
If that's the case, they're going to be successful, so it's possible.
All right. Well, the reason we have Alex on is he has some strong opinions about what's been going on in this Campus to Canton draft, and I know, Trevin, you do too over the past week, and it sounds like Brent might even have some hot takes ready for us to go tonight. So should we hop into the main event?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. So for tonight's main event, we are going to go over that draft. First, we'll start out by explaining Campus to Canton. I'll talk a little bit about the scoring of this particular league, and then we'll hop into some of the draft strategy. So before we begin, Alex, I know main event's your favorite part of every podcast you're on, so glad we can hop into that here.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime I'm able to rip something off, you know me.
We'll try to come up with some new things for you to rip off for next time. All right. So, for those who may not be familiar, we are doing a Campus to Canton League, which essentially it's two leagues. You have one league on the college side and one league on the NFL side, and they're both dynasty leagues. For the NFL side, it's just like a traditional dynasty league where you have all of your players in the startup draft and everything. And on the college side, it's the same type of thing. And then eventually, as your players graduate or declare for the NFL draft, they hopefully move on to your NFL roster and you get them there. And then each year you'd have an incoming freshman draft on the college side, and then a short, abbreviated rookie draft on the NFL side for anybody who slipped through the cracks on the college side. Maybe or for FCS players like a Trey Lance or somebody like that who would be worth drafting or rostering on the NFL side. So that's kind of how it works. Is essentially it's two leagues throughout the year. You have a champion in each league, and your college team feeds directly into your NFL team. So pretty in-depth, probably not the first league most people want to hop into, but should be a lot of fun. And I think this is the first Campus to Canton League each of us has been in. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So, scoring real briefly before we get started for this league. We did fairly standard overall. We have one quarterback, one super flex, two running back, and three receivers that we start. And then that scoring is 10 yards per point for receivers and running backs for both rushing and receiving. And then instead of PPR, we did tiered PPR, which Duchesne's is a big proponent of. And for this league, we did half a point per reception for running backs, 1 point for receivers, and 1.5 points for tight ends. For quarterbacks, we also did 30 points passing per yard, as opposed to maybe 20 or 25 like some other leagues might have. So a little bit unique in some aspects, but fairly standard overall, and -2 for turnovers, that type of thing. Which gets me to my first bone I have to pick with all three of you. Last week in the outtakes, we talked a little bit about this league. Brent and Trevin did not apparently look over the scoring rules before the draft. And then Duchesne's tonight in the league chat had the audacity to ask how many roster spots there are in this league. So as fantasy analysts, guys, what do you have to say for yourselves for not looking over the scoring and the roster construction rules prior to this draft?
I think it's overrated. At the end of the day, it's fantasy football. I mean, it changes slightly. I think people get a little carried away with their differences between PPR, half PPR rankings. They're moving Jamison Crowder up from 40 to wide receiver 26. Like it all kind of evens out in the end. And some people do. It's a little like when you come up with these leagues to people like the Harry Potter League or the Infinity Stone League, they're like, whoa, that's a lot. And it's like, dude, it's still just fantasy football with a couple twists. Like, I don't know. Basically, I was planning on figuring it out later as I went.
My defense is the rules you put together and sent to all of us was a 30-page document, and I couldn't read through it all. I'm sorry. I skimmed it. You caught me.
You didn't even have the scoring that's readily available on Sleeper without even having to go to that document.
I will say the 30-yard passing was a bit of a surprise, and it's also 4-point touchdowns. So I might have pursued a rushing quarterback a little more, but I'm still happy with what I got.
Yeah, I actually took that from Trevin, I think, is the one who originally proposed the scoring for that way in our long-standing redraft league. And basically, I think your thought, from what I remember the first time you explained it to me, Trevin, is it makes a 300-yard passing game equivalent to a 100-yard rushing game, which to me makes a little bit of sense, especially with the increase in passing yardage in the NFL.
Yeah, they're both kind of the milestone yardage, I guess. So you can blame me for that one, I guess, Duchesne's, for that conversation me and Levi had maybe 15 years ago.
I can't remember exactly what rule I didn't know about last week. What was it? The tiered PPR?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Alex said, I mean, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It maybe bumps up the tight ends a little bit.
It does. Kelsey was like number 1 overall last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
I don't know.
But it was also an unreal tight end season. Like, you don't see
Yeah.
that often. So,
Which, Trevin, let's get to, I guess, before we get into this, we had one more comment from Alex here who says, Duchesne's the Minshew Mania look is great. You could probably get some free stuff walking around Jacksonville.
well, you can't see from here down where he's got the washboard abs.
You look more like Matt Jones from the below the neck.
Sad to say.
So, Trevin, I guess talking about Travis Kelce being the number one scoring player in this league scoring last year, you just got your first tight end, and it is O.J. Howard. How are you feeling about that?
I mean,
Ouch.
I might have changed my strategy a little bit if I would have known that I would have remembered the tiered scoring for tight ends at the time of the draft. My big tight end theory is
shit.
after the first three, it really doesn't matter too much when it's not a tiered one, I guess. So I might have taken that back if I had the chance, but I still am happy with it, I suppose.
You're happy with O.J. Howard.
I mean, it doesn't matter. After the first three or four.
Oh, come on. Okay. All right.
No.
Trevin, don't.
Tunyon was what was Tunyon finish last year? The fourth tight end?
Yeah, well, Tanyon's not O.J. Howard.
I'm not saying O.J. Howard's going to be some stud, but nobody saw Tunyon either. It just they're all interchangeable after three, maybe four if you count the Falcons this year.
Don't worry, Trevin. Will Dissly's still out there. He can go get him.
Yeah.
You know who you need is Tim Tebow. He's out there still.
Oh
There
God,
you
what a
go.
joke.
That might be who your starting tight end is this year.
Yeah, if O.J. Howard gets hurt, I'm calling up Tim.
Jesus will save you.
Take the wheel.
All right. Well, who wants? I'll let you guys. You each have some strong opinions here. So, who wants to go first, dishing out your first strong take?
I want to ask Duchesne's what him and Omega were doing the first 2 or 3 days of the draft. Because did you forget your logins? You guys weren't even making bids or nothing.
So I've done a few auctions, and I'm done enforcing prices. I got caught sometimes, and it made me blow my load too early. You never want to blow your load early. You guys were fucking spending, dude. I have like some Excel sheets from some other leagues, and you can't really use them one for one because it was like a couple months ago, and the scoring was a little different, but it gave me a bit of a reference. But the big thing that I did is I have my rankings that I set up. They're on my link tree, but they're set up in tiers. And I was just looking at the players that were going in the tiers and how much they were going for, and I was seeing guys that I have higher falling below those numbers. So as we go through the teams, I'll give out the numbers of where I got the guys and where they are in my rankings. But that's basically how I did it, and that's why we were just waiting. Like the prices were high out of the gate, and we were able to get some guys eventually.
Another question: is it hard to co-own a team, especially during an auction?
No,
I
don't think so. I enjoy it quite a bit. I co-own almost as many teams as I do myself now, I think.
My thought was just every time you get outbid, you'd have to go back to your partner and say, "Hey, are we going for this or not?"
Yeah,
I'm on the phone a lot, but I say we got taken at this. You want to go back? It's a 24-hour clock, so at the end of the day, I can get home, send them a whole shot of the thing, and say, "Where are we at with this?" We were kind of on the same page a lot, and I knew when we were going to go for a guy, and I would get the okay. But when there was something questionable, I would bring it up, except Myers. I think I put that one up, and we ended up getting Myers, which I wasn't thrilled about, but whatever, we got him.
Let me ask one more question about your initial strategy. So Trevin kind of alluded to it. It took you a while before you started bidding. To clarify, you got your first auction that you won on the 6th day of the draft, and I think you got your first actual player because your first win was a draft pick on day 7. Do you think you waited too long?
No, I was bidding, but you were a douchebag and kept taking them and enforcing me. So I said, "Fuck you, have them." I'll fade Duchesne's on this one.
Do you feel like you got backed into a corner at all? Because at one point you had Ezekiel Elliott was kind of the last upper echelon running back that was available. and you had no running backs. And so I felt like at that point, if I really wanted to be a jerk, which I was to some degree, I really could have pushed you on Zeke because you waited long enough that we had spent quite a bit of our money, but we still had enough at that point to price and force quite a bit. Like when you pulled your little shenanigans about setting your alarm to snipe me, and
Oh my God. He got so pissed about this joke.
Well, okay, for the listeners, Duchesne's I was the lead bidder on, I think it was Jalen Hurts, and somebody else outbid me, and Duchesne said I set a damn alarm to snipe Levi on Hurts, and then I was like, okay, whatever, that's pretty funny. But then I pivot to Tannehill, and then you outbid me on Tannehill, so I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
It's an auction. I wanted Tannehill.
So then I outbid you on like all 5 of your players.
Yeah, all of them, and I was pissed. I went, "Oh, fuck you, Levi! I'm not gonna bet on any of these guys."
So one by one, because I didn't have enough money to do it all at once, so I took turns going around and pushing them, resetting the 24-hour clock on all of them and pushing them down to the bottom of the board. And it probably cost you like $10 by the time I did all that on all your players.
Are you proud of yourself? Like, I mean, I got you good. I think later when you were tied up. I waited. You had Kirk Cousins, who I wanted, but I had Matt Ryan going, and I was like, I'm gonna wait for Matt Ryan to go. And the second he went, I took Kirk Cousins from you.
Yeah, and I knew I messaged you immediately after and said I knew that's exactly what you were gonna do, and that was really smart. I will give you a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I was like, fuck this guy.
But I think by waiting, I do think by waiting so long, you did kind of limit your options to the point that we knew who you were going after, like Zeke, because you had the high bid and there weren't any other options out there. So if somebody really wanted to push you, they could have made you pay just as much or maybe more.
I'm a good target for that type of stuff because I mean, I guess I give people a good reason to fuck with me. Like people don't like to fuck with Aaron. He's like cute and cuddly or something, but people like to see me get pissed off, which is cool. I like it's fun, but
it was similar with quarterback too, Levi, right? Because and Duchesne's is who I'm talking about, but Baker was kind of one of the last upper end tight or quarterbacks that you could get at the time you got him.
Yeah, at some point, like you might not like the prices, but at some point you gotta pay with the market, like because you're gonna have to get somebody. You can't just wait and then overpay for all these mid range guys. Like I do like Baker, and what did I get? I got Baker at I don't even know, but he was the QB 17 if you factor in like the 3 or 4 quarterback picks, and I have him at QB 12. So like arbitrage auctioning, I guess.
So in hindsight, would you have timed it any differently, or
no, not really, no, because it was mostly like I still got all the guys I wanted for the most part. I did want Hurts a little more. Only thing that kind of hurt was David Montgomery. I paid a little bit for him, which he was like RB 21-ish if you count a rookie or 2 or 3. And I have him at RB 25. He was in the tier for me with Carson and Hunt, and Carson and Hunt went for like a third of the price. But Omega was a little bigger on Monty, and I was sort of a fade Duchesne's pick there. I don't have Monty anywhere, so I was fine getting him as an RB2. But where I made my money, I feel, was quarterbacks. My wide receiver core, I think we really killed it with that. And then our picks, we got 112 for less than 201 and 202 went for more than we got 112 for.
Yeah.
And I bought 202 for more than I got 112 for.
I'm looking at your team. It's a good team. Could use some depth at running back, but like you said, you have four draft picks in the top.
Yeah, top 14.
Yeah.
So it's a 14-round first round, I feel, for the most part. It drops off pretty considerably after 202. And for 108, 112, and 202, we spent as much as 102.
So real briefly, I'll go through your roster, Duchesne's. This is your starting lineup. You have Baker Mayfield, Zeke, David Montgomery, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, TJ Hawkinson, Deebo Samuel, Gus Edwards, Paris Campbell, and Matt Ryan, with Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Myers on your bench. And then your draft picks, you have those 4 in the first couple rounds that you mentioned.
And 211, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got to throw in there the 8th pick. He'll probably be a starter. The 12th.
Yeah,
pick.
so 8th is either going to be ETN, Wilson, Chase Pitts, like whoever falls there, we'll get our guy. And with the wide receiver core, I got Amari Cooper at 14. I have him at wide receiver 11. Keenan Allen, I got him at wide receiver 24. I have him at 13. Higgins at 15, which I have him at 18, but I wanted some Higgins. I don't have him many places. Debo at 36, 37, and I have him a little higher. And for all the top 4 starting wide receivers, we spent 134, which was 27%. So about a quarter of our bankroll on our starting wide receivers.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, we didn't go heavy with the quarterback. The other 2 auctions I've done, we did really heavy quarterback. We did the stud and dud method, and we got to the title, but we ended up selling off and rebuilding real quick. Like we had Kyler and Lamar, I think, and Cook and Julio, but we sold it off, rebuilt. But yeah, so I think we have 13 guys, so 2 guys on the bench, but including the picks. We've used 83% of our cap, 17% for the bench, a bunch of $1 guys, but we were able to fill out a lineup and get a couple decent bench spots. So I'm glad with our depth.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to give out your strategy for this, but with the 8th pick and the 12th pick, you have an opportunity to get your guy Mac Jones there. They're going to try to get younger at your quarterback position.
If Mac's there at 211, I'll think about it.
211. Damn.
Chevin, do you have any first rounders?
No, that was actually kind of my plan going in, and I'm glad I did it. Is I thought they all went too high. I think the first round. I mean, I'm not an expert on this. You guys have done a lot more of these than I have, but I didn't want to spend money on first round picks and just blow those and then just have nothing for a roster immediately. So my kind of plan was to get the young guys that do cost more, but I want a competitive team for the next 4 years and try to hit in the draft a couple of times, try to bring in the good college guys to maybe have a chance.
Well, I was hoping you would take Tony before my 108, but I agree that the picks were a little costly. 101 was QB4. No, the 104. I mean, 101 was more than Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray. It was costly. Like,
what are your thoughts on that?
Where these rookies went, they have to absolutely ball out.
They gotta. Yeah, that's why I was shying away.
Bust.
Like Brent. You paid for your 103. You paid $66, and I'm not gonna, you don't have to reveal who you're gonna take, but Jamar Chase there. That's immediately what, the 5th highest receiver, 5th or 6th.
I love 103 at 66 as opposed to 101 at 96 because you're getting Fields or Lance or Chase.
I do feel I wanted 101 because I love Trevor Lawrence, but damn, that's a lot of money. I didn't want to pay that much for him.
That's some cheddar.
It's funny also, one of the quirks of an auction draft is not all the picks are on the board at once. So, Brent, you actually got 103 for $66, and 104 and 105 went for 69 and 68, which is kind of funny.
Same thing with that 112, 201, 202. 112 went a couple days late, and then people wanted the first round, early second round pick, so they spent like $5 extra on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Brent, Trevin's mentioned how expensive the draft picks were in this one, particularly those early to mid first round picks. You have several of those. Could you kind of walk through your process on valuing those and why you decided to go that route? What your strategy was?
I'm just trying to hit on a couple of them. There's a good chance that I have the 2nd pick and the 3rd pick and the 11th pick, and then I have 3 second rounders. I feel strong about my first 2 picks, and who knows, that 11th pick could give me some depth at the running back position or maybe wide receiver position. And I feel like with my draft picks, I know you guys are saying that the draft picks are really paying a lot, but I tried not to overspend for them. I wanted draft picks, but I didn't want to overspend. I wanted to take the chance. I'm trying to hit big. I'm trying to get guys like Justin Jefferson. I mean, it's a super flex. I mean, obviously, I'll probably get a quarterback with one of my first 2 picks. So I feel like I feel happy about my quarterback depth for the future. And then the rest of them, I mean, running back depth, wide receiver depth, and I'm happy with it.
Here's what I struggle to understand when I look at your roster, Brent. When are you trying to compete? Because you have a lot of and I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but you have a lot of draft picks, so you're going to have a lot of rookies. And some of those could contribute immediately, like hopefully, if you take a receiver and if you take Chase, or hopefully he'll contribute immediately. But your quarterback that you take, whether it's Fields or Lance, depending which route you go, may not start right away. And then you have like your receivers are Michael Thomas and Allen Robinson, who are they're kind of in their prime now, right? Like the next couple of years, you got to be ready to win if you're going to keep them. And obviously, you always have the option to trade them. But then your running backs are Mike Davis and you have Malcolm Brown, Wayne Gallman. Like that's obviously your weakest spot.
Yeah.
And then tight end, you have Mark Andrews. So I guess, and Logan Thomas. So I guess when I look at your roster, I don't know if you're just drafting for value or if you had a particular window in mind or what your strategy is going forward after the draft.
You know how, I mean, you've seen my fantasy teams over the years. I don't put a lot of value into running backs. I get running backs that are going to help me. I mean, I'm not willing to spend a lot of money for a guy like Delvin Cook or Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey. I definitely in an auction draft, I will not do that. I'm going to go for guys that are maybe 1 or 2 year guys that are going to be good for me for 1 or 2 years, and maybe I'll sprinkle in a couple rookies in there, and maybe I hit on those rookies, and we'll see what happens. So, I mean, I'm hoping a guy like Malcolm Brown, Zach Moss, and Tony Pollard or Wayne Gallman has a better than expected year. Obviously, all 4 of those guys won't, but maybe 1 or 2 of those guys will hit. I think Mike Davis is obviously my best running back, and I think he'll have a decent year. But I'm hoping a guy like Malcolm Brown is the number 1 running back at Miami by the end of the year. I'm hoping a guy like Wayne Gallman becomes the number 1 running back at 49ers. So, I mean, it's all kind of hope. I mean, I can't really expect anything, but I mean, when I have a lot of them, something's got to happen with 1 or 2 of them.
So basically, you're thinking you have receivers that are ready to go, and you're hoping one of these running backs pans out. And then I guess at quarterback, you have Burrow and Fitzpatrick and Dalton, and then the rookies, whether that's or at least 1 rookie, I assume you're taking with your number 2 or number 3 pick. So
yeah. I like Burrow. I think he's a very good fan. He'll be a very, very good fantasy quarterback, and starting next year. And Fitzpatrick, this is probably the best team that he's been on. I mean, I probably only have him for a year, but then it's going to be a guy like Fields or Lance after that. So,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like I can compete this year. Yes, I really wanted Calvin Ridley. Got taken away from me in the final minute by Aaron. So that kind of screwed up my plan at wide receiver. I went after Michael Thomas and Allen Robinson after that, but I don't feel great about the wide receiver position. I'd feel a little bit better if I got a guy like Ridley. But I don't feel bad about it. And I honestly really like my team. I do.
Yeah. Duchesne's, what do you think of Brent's team?
Well, it's not much of a team yet, so I guess we should wait until after the draft. But 102, 103, 111. So you're looking at least 1 or 2 quarterbacks, maybe Chase or Pitts, and then 111 might get Mac there. But I like Burrow a lot. The running back is a cesspool. A wide receiver, you're starting Corey Davis, and then besides that, you have Marvin Jones and John Brown as flexes. I kind of like Marvin Jones, but it's definitely looking not as good as it will after the rookie draft.
Yeah, and I'm relying on guys. I think Marvin Jones could have a good year with Trevor Lawrence.
I wanted Marvin Jones, but I was a little strapped at the moment. He went kind of early on, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think you only paid like $5, didn't you, Brent?
Yeah, it was definitely single digits.
That was a good one. I mean, we saw some. I forgot who I was going to say, but we saw some very questionable payments for some people, especially early on. when people threw out like dollar players and they were going for $3, $4, or $5.
That brings me to Brent's tight end. He took I think he was the second or third player overall taken in this auction draft. The Cleveland Browns third string tight end that you got for $4.
I like Harrison Bryant
Immediately
actually.
to start the draft.
I have 4 on Gerald Everett right now, so like I don't think it's as bad. It seemed a little bit much at first, but that was before everything panned out. But we're about to have like this is probably going to be the most $1 guys I've ever seen in an auction. That's about to go down here soon.
Yeah, our auction's about to turn into a snake.
Yeah.
Trevin, anything else you want to add about Brent's roster?
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, he needs those picks to hit each one of them, and that's why I shied away from him. But if they do, his team's gonna look a lot better.
I did see that Joe Burrow expects to be ready week 1, so that certainly will work in your favor, Brent.
So what are you thinking with the 8, 9, 10? End of the second. Like I don't know how much you spent on them, but I feel like those were going for quite a bit for what I don't think is a great spot in the second. Like you're looking at Diami Brown from like Michael Carter maybe.
Honestly, if you're looking at my wide running back depth, I'm hoping to get at least 2 running backs out of that.
Okay.
Trey Sermon might be there.
I bet I don't expect him to be there.
You don't think so?
No, you won't make it past 205.
I'm not going to tell you the guys that I'm hoping, but there's a few guys that might actually reach forward to it. Where I could probably drop down to the 3rd round to get them, but I might just grab them there just in case.
Yeah, it's not a reach in a year or two if they hit. You're not going to be like, oh, I got him at 208 instead of 302.
Yeah.
All right. Trevin, you want to talk about your team next?
Sure. Yeah, I guess so I had a little bit of a strategy going into it, and that was based on more of who I'm going to be playing against in this thing. And that's a lot of guys that like to call themselves fantasy experts. It's not that they're not, but most of the people in here do produce some type of content that I listen to a lot of. And the one thing they all kind of agree on is you got to trade high or trade your guys when they're high. And here's the mid-level guys that you should be buying. So to me, that meant there should be a little bit of a thing I can exploit and get the higher end guys. If everybody's looking to fade on the higher end guys, I thought I'd be able to get some at below prices for these top end guys. So I wanted to get the young guys, the young top end guys that are going to be mostly holding their value unless injuries happen for the next 4 years. And after that, I was going to look for second year guys. I thought with COVID last year, there might be some value in guys that couldn't get it figured out last year. So I wasn't able to get as many of those. I really wanted Mims, but he was going higher than I wanted. So that was my second plan going into this thing. And so Mahomes, I mean, there's not a lot of draft strategies you can find for dynasty auction drafts. But the ones I could find, Mahomes was kind of the first quarterback taken, and he went for the same price that was there. And then the other top end guys were going for less than what the guide I was looking at was having. So I was like, all right, let's go for it. Let's get these younger top end guys and see if we can get lucky on the cheaper guys to build around them.
Was that guide off of fantasy analysts, or was it like for your average league? Because maybe you did take advantage of us elite fantasy analysts fading the top end prices.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely know more than me, especially at the mid-level guys. So I wasn't going to try to throw my weight around mid-level guys and blow it somewhere where I thought there might be some advantage I can have to just being the one that pays for the higher end guys.
I will say there's a benefit, because that's what I did in my last auction that I started last year. Was I had my guys and they were awesome, and it made start sit a fucking breeze, because I was like, I'm not benching DK Metcalf or Gabe Davis. So.
Yeah. Yep. So that was my strategy going into it. I'm happy with where I'm at. I just need to get lucky now with these $1 and $2 guys I'm going to be having on my roster and starting most weeks.
The last pick of that draft last year for the last $1 was James Robinson.
Wow.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
So, Trevin, just to go over your roster real briefly, your starting lineup, you have Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jarvis Landry, OJ Howard, Ronald Jones, Jamison Crowder, Henry Ruggs, and Russell Wilson with Gabriel Davis also on your bench. So
I wasn't really planning on Wilson, but I thought his price was so low that I just went for it and going to go with 2 quarterbacks.
I will say, yeah, you probably have the best quarterback room in the whole league. I'll give you that.
Hey, thanks, Brent. You can't have either one.
Collins, man. Collins is pretty good. Herbert and L-Jax.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I mean, I got Baker, Ryan, and Cousins.
you got depth.
Yeah, I got 3 top 20 guys for my rankings. But we're not talking about me. We're talking about Trevin.
What else you guys got for me on mine? Let's hear some honesty.
So you have 3 flexes in your bench. So like the 4 guys to go in your flex are Ronald Jones, Crowder, Ruggs, and Davis. So you're going to be really counting on hitting the flexes on the right weeks. And you're going to be relying on your studs, which isn't the worst thing. I mean, it's just you're going to have to hit the right weeks. I mean, last year out with the same sort of strategy, I was running J.D. McKissic out of my flex, which ended up doing me pretty wonders. I mean, I lost to Aaron in the title because that's what happens in fantasy football. But yeah, I like your team. Paid up for Josh Jacobs a little bit, but.
Yeah, I mean, I know you listen to the show. I'm higher on Josh Jacobs than I should be, probably just because I'm a Raiders fan. But I like the price I got him at.
You should be higher than the market value, and I feel like the price wasn't as reflective.
The listeners, John hates that Josh Jacobs price. Apparently,
$44. Same. I got Baker Mayfield for the same price.
Hey, Trevin, what'd you get Jonathan Taylor for? Do you remember?
I've got it here. 85. I think he was the third running back price. Second?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Barkley went for 81. Yeah.
Same price as Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I do feel
looks like crown me, I guess.
I think you go ahead, Levi.
I was just going to say, between Jacobs and your Ruggs pick, your homerism is coming out a little bit.
No, Ruggs, I'm not a big fan of Ruggs, but that was part of my second-year strategy of guys that might be able to figure it out. That there wasn't a lot of training camp and a lot of time for guys to figure it out last year. So it's not like I didn't go, I need to get Ruggs, but he only went for $7.
Yeah,
maybe I can turn it around.
For $6. Like you shot your shot. There was nothing wrong with the Ruggs at $7.
Yeah, him and Gabriel Davis and Mims were the 3 receivers that I wanted, and Mims just got out of my price range.
I really wanted Bryan Edwards, but I am out of money.
So did
I. What do you guys think about Levi? I don't know if you're still the leading bidder on him, but the news that came out of Lions facility today, is that just coach talk, or is that something? Is there any truth behind it?
So the first time I saw it, I thought it all made sense. I didn't see the first part of it where he said, I'll have like Williams as my lead back, basically. I saw an A and a B. I don't think Williams will be the lead guy. I've been firm in saying that Jamal Williams will have a role of that shitty offense. Like, I'm just off of the Swift train at his price. That's like my biggest thing, I think, this year. That's like my flagpole where I'm stabbing that take is DeAndre Swift is not a top 5 dynasty running back. I don't have him top 10. I mean, I can listen to top 10, but I personally don't. It's a bad offense. Maybe he gets the work. I don't think he gets the CMC workload though. Like I don't see it happening. I see him disappointing because at his price right now, he has to absolutely smash.
Mm-hmm.
I should back up a little bit and just say it was Jamal Williams, offensive coordinator at the Lions, Anthony Lynn, came out today and said he called him the A back. Which didn't mean a whole lot, but he went on to say that means he's my lead guy, I guess, was what he was meaning by it. So
that's crazy.
That was the news for Jamal Williams that Anthony Lynn shared today.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift went for $74 in this draft, which tied Dalvin Cook for 5th among running backs.
That's insane.
Who got him? Who got Swift?
Todd Foster, the FF
yeah,
banner
absolutely
man.
Todd Foster.
going to throw down with Duchesne's.
DeAndre Swift, Kamara's right there. Lamar Jackson, a couple dollars more. The 102 right under it. Tyreek Hill. Like these guys are so head and above DeAndre Swift that I just cannot buy somebody at that value.
Yeah. I think as far as Jamal Williams goes, he's carved out a role in that Packers offense, even with Aaron Jones performing at a high level over the past couple of years. And that's kind of what my thesis was on throwing a couple bucks on him late in the end of this draft is like, even if DeAndre Swift does take over as the primary back, I think Jamal Williams could have a decent role on a game-to-game basis. And then if something were to happen to Swift injury-wise or where he wasn't able to play, then Jamal Williams could be a pretty valuable handcuff to have. And he's only, I think, 26, so it's not like he's,
Yeah. I've been getting a lot of Williams, but yeah, I think he has a role.
Yeah,
they went out and got him in free agency, like they paid for him.
Yeah, I was liking my $2 price on him a lot more until Duchesne's bid me up.
Well, you're just lucky that I got caught up because I would be bidding you up more for him right now.
So many kneecaps is right, John.
So, Levi, you want to go ahead with any of your strategy going in, and if you successfully followed it through?
I had a strategy going in that I did not successfully follow through. My strategy, honestly, was that I wanted to have one really good quarterback, which I got in Kyler Murray, and then build a really strong receiver core, which I feel like I've done okay there. I have two really strong ones, I think, in CeeDee Lamb and DJ Moore. But some of these receiver prices were just crazy to me, to the point where I ended up, having a couple higher end guys there, but it wasn't like I was hoping for like Justin Jefferson or an AJ Brown or some of these guys who were going for, I think Jefferson went for 82 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was nuts. And then AJ Brown, I think, was 69, which ended up being only one more than CeeDee Lamb. But by the time I got CeeDee Lamb for that price, all the other high end receivers were off the board. And so like that, because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try, I guess, the Brent way, where you have the receiver core, and then maybe I could backfill the running back side on the campus side. Was kind of my thought, and I had a pretty early draft pick there, so I felt like a good chance of getting either Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson or somebody like that. But the Duchesne's not going harder after Saquon Barkley shocked me, so I felt pretty good about getting Saquon as the number 3 running back at cost in this draft. Miles Sanders was a panic pick after I thought after the running back twos were kind of
you wanted him so bad.
I got sniped on Lamb, and then I needed a running back, and Sanders and Montgomery going, and I'm not a huge Montgomery guy, so hopefully he bounces back. My thing with Sanders is I just don't think he's going to get the pass receptions with Hurts at quarterback, because I think Hurts is just going to run it rather than dumping it off.
He threw a lot last year, more than I thought he did when I went back and looked. It was like 30 passes a game.
Well, I hope he's throwing some of those to Miles Sanders.
I don't think he keeps that up, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt really good about the price for DJ Moore. I probably overpaid for Chenault, especially after Urban Meyer's stupid ass comments this week about how he wants to use.
Yeah.
How he wants to.
If only I had a Chenault.
yeah. The role he's describing for ETN is like perfect for Chenault.
Imagine LaVisca listening to that, like,
Urban.
Yeah, incredible. But and then I got Tannehill as my quarterback too, which I thought was a pretty good price on him. I think he's in the 40s if I remember right.
You got a hell of a deal for
40,
Kyler.
45 for Tannehill.
Yeah, so I felt pretty good about my quarterbacks. I don't have a quarterback 3 yet, which is not exactly what I had planned either. I wanted to be solid at quarterback, so I could just on the Devy side focus on getting those running backs and receivers, and not have to worry about paying the premium for quarterback as much on that side. But that doesn't look like it's going to pan out. So I'm going to have to tweak my strategy a little bit as far as that goes. And then tight end, I tried to get Hawkinson, but Duchesne's took him away. I didn't have him in any league, so I was hoping to get him. And then once he was gone, I was like, well, like Trevin said, the rest of these guys after him, in my opinion, he was kind of the cutoff are all the same. Him and Fant were on the board at the same time. Once they were gone, it was like, whatever. So I ended up with Austin Hooper and Cole Kmet, which I don't
paid a little
hate.
extra for Cole Kmet.
I like
$9 there.
I wanted to go after him more, but once he went to 9, I was like, I can't.
Yeah, that was a pure upside gamble and troll Duchesne's until the end, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying earlier, where people could, if they wanted to, like bid me up, but it's like I guess I was hoping on, do they want to build their team for what's best for them, or do they want to fuck me over? And it's an honest question because I'm not sure half the time.
John doesn't love my Sanders price, and I didn't either. And then the other thing, I definitely overpaid for Marquise Brown. I don't know what I was thinking at that point, honestly.
Yeah, that really surprised me. You've not been a Marquise Brown fan, and then you're paying the winning bidder on that one.
What was it?
Yeah, $14. So I guess my thought there is just with my core, I feel like I can fill out some of these hopefully flex spots with guys that are going to be boom or bust. On their boom weeks, they'll probably be week winners. But I don't know if Marquise Brown's going to be the best guy for that. So
right there with Marquise, though, at 14 was Darnell Mooney, who I was trying to get. But Todd, that was just too much, man. Have fun with him. I like Mooney, but that's a lot.
So I don't feel great about that one in hindsight. But
I think Brown has a decent a decent season. Like, I think he could open up now that he's not the only guy. You have another wide receiver out there with Bateman. Andrews over the middle, running the ball. I think it could open him up deep more.
Yeah, that's true.
I hope so. I need it. And they can't pass any less. So that's always I think I saw a comment from Greg Roman that they're working on implementing some new stuff into their offense this year that people
let's
haven't
hope
seen
so,
previously.
because he's been running the same thing, like, because it worked so well. He got stubborn. He didn't change anything up.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I'll believe that when I see it. But and then kind of like with Trevin, I don't have any draft picks. I originally, was going to try to get some, but then every time I looked at a pick, it was just like, do I really want to pay that much for the player I think I'll be able to get there? And I always felt like there were some decent values on the player side as opposed to the picks. So I don't have any at this point.
Yeah, with the picks, like my rankings, I have kind of somewhat of the draft equity that I would want for that player or what might get that started. So when I was looking at these picks, I would see the players and it's like I'd rather pay a couple dollars less for the player.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
This is a question for Trevin and Levi. You guys both have 12 guys on your roster right now, which is the lowest out of all. Yeah, lowest in the whole league. Average roster is probably like 18 or 19 right now. Are you worried about the depth at all, especially with not having any draft picks?
I can go first. Kind of like what Trevin said. I think when I look at my key players, so I would say like Kyler, Saquon, Sanders, Lamb, Moore, and then to a lesser degree, Shenault and Tannehill. I feel like they're at a point in their career where they're going to be performing at an elite level, hopefully for a few more years, and I have some time to finish building out the rest of that lineup and have a little more depth going forward, to where if it doesn't pan out this year, it's not the end of the window. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. But yeah, obviously I would definitely prefer to have a little more depth for sure.
So to follow up on that, do you think like in your Devy draft, do you think you're going to go for like older guys to kind of help your team out maybe next year and the year after? Or does that really matter, you think?
In my head, it doesn't. Sorry, Levi, to cut you off, but I got young enough guys. I mean, it's my first time doing this, so if I'm an idiot, you can tell me I'm an idiot. But I think my young guys that are going to be leading my team, they should be good for 5 or 6 years. If not, I have the ability to make some changes to it. But I'm not worried about what class my guys are in the campus leagues, I guess, as of this point. If they were all 5 years older than that, I'd definitely be trying to get seniors in the campus league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, Brent, at most you're talking about a year or two, which hopefully shouldn't make a lot of difference with the ages of some of these players on the NFL side. Like, I know we try to think in 3-year windows or less, but I mean, it's so hard to project going forward for those Devi guys or campus guys in this case at all, to let alone try to, adjust too much on what class they're in. I think you can maybe overthink it a little bit if you're not careful.
I will say that, Levi, you probably got one of the better deals out of the whole auction so far, getting Kyler Murray at like $91.
I think it ended up 93, maybe. Yeah, 93.
Still, that's a really good deal.
QB6.
Yeah, by a lot of people, he's probably QB2. So you got a really good deal there. I mean, Josh Allen went for over 100, which, I mean, you can probably talk about those two in the same sentence. So
I think it's Josh Allen 102, or Dak was 101.
100.
Then the 101 pick was 96-ish, something like that.
And then Herbert, and then Kyler.
I'm still holding out hope. Do you think there's a chance that who's the 101 guy? Who owns that? Kelly.
That's Kelly. He's taking Lawrence. You can cross that off.
Are you sure he's not a huge Justin Fields fan?
Yeah.
If you're a Justin Fields fan, you'll just go 102, 103 or something.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why you went 102, 103, right, Brent? Because you're a big Fields guy.
I don't know. We'll see. We will see. You'll find out during the rookie draft. I did get Dalton, so never know.
What do you think about Watson going at 56? He was like QB 12.
I didn't know what the hell to do with him.
I was just not touching him either way.
Yeah.
I was in on him in the 40s, but once it got out of the 40s, I was like, that's too much for me.
I think I opened that bid, and I was like $17 or something is what I put on it.
It's just so crazy. It's such a steal if he comes back in 2 years even and he performs like he was. But if he never plays again, you just there's $50 down the drain.
But even if he does come back, you're spending 2 years of that as a roster spot.
But I don't know. I'm not sold he completely misses the entire year this year. And I think it's also worth noting the guy who has him also has Mahomes. So if Deshaun Watson comes back and performs like he has in the past and he has Mahomes, that team's going to be tough to beat. But I do think there is more risk there. And I think I mentioned this in our chat, Duchesne's, than people are thinking about with Deshaun Watson. Like, even if he doesn't, there's more than just him being on the field because – like I mentioned in the chat, he's coming back to Houston where he already wanted out anyways, and I don't think that there's any way they're going to be able to trade him or willing to trade him at this point. So that's not a great situation. And then just, I don't know, like I know Tiger had other issues physically that affected his game too, but like when he came back after his whole incident, it was not like he just went back to being this dominant guy that he was before that whole thing happened. And I don't know how this is affecting Deshaun Watson mentally. I'm certainly not a psychologist, but I don't know if he just comes back and is able to shrug it all off and keep playing like nothing happened either. So I think that's a risk to some degree that probably isn't talked about. Everybody talks about the suspension risk and when he's actually going to be able to play again, but I think those are two other factors that are kind of looming in the background here that don't get talked about a lot, is the team situation and where he's at mentally when he does come back.
His team is good. Though I'm looking at it, Mahomes and Watson. He's also got Love. He's got Cook and Edwards with Dillon, OBJ, Claypool, Sutton, Thielen, and then Waller. That's a good core.
Yeah,
man.
it is.
What about?
Go ahead, Levi.
What about Rodgers? He was kind of – so I think these two were on the board at the same time. Rodgers went for 40, which was a lot cheaper than Watson and still, though, not that cheap relative to some of the other quarterbacks, especially given his age. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Rodgers' price? And
that was cheap. That was cheap. I probably would have been on him, but I don't know. I wasn't. I don't think it worked at the time it happened, but $40 for Rodgers is cheap.
Pretty good deal. I mean, I know we talked a couple weeks ago and I said there's a chance that he'll retire, but it sounded like that's not going to happen. He'll be playing either for the Packers or some new team. It was a good deal.
I still think it's the Packers. I don't think there's any way somewhere else. But I like the price, but It might just be a 1 year deal. I don't know. I think this is his last year of his contract, right? Maybe he walks away after 1 year. But that price still isn't too bad for a 1 year of an MVP like that. Just to go back to Watson real quick, redraft. I'm sure we'll talk about it more before the season starts. But at what point would you take Watson in a redraft league for, let's just say, a Superflex redraft?
I probably wouldn't because Superflex redraft.
Those exist.
Yeah, right?
I don't know. Let's just say 2 quarterback then.
I probably just wouldn't.
I tend to stay away from questionable.
Not even like the 12th round, though?
Not unless I'm filling my bench.
If it's 2 quarterback, I would.
Yeah.
I'm still
It's
not
redraft. Like, the whole reason he has value is because it's Dynasty. If it's redraft, you don't even know if he's playing. I don't think it's worth the risk.
At some point, though, I think you'd have to take him. If you can get him coming in for your playoff run in a redraft league, that'd be quite an advantage.
If he performs like he has.
Sure.
I think that,
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I'm with you guys. Basically, I didn't want to touch him. I don't know when he's coming back, and it'd be a tough guy to root for at this point.
it sounds like that there's still talk about trades with Houston. That Matt Lombardo last night, I mean, he's saying that the Raiders are still interested, the Dolphins are still interested, and there's still ongoing talks about him getting traded, and that was as of last night. So I have no idea.
Who is this?
Matt Lombardo from
Lombardi,
from Fansided.
Oh, okay.
That shocked me. I don't know how another team could touch him right now.
Price would have to be right.
That'd be quite a PR hit. It's not like teams
Imagine Miami traded for him. Like I was out on Tua, and then after they said they were in and got a bunch of stuff to back him up, I was back in on Tua. But oh my god, if they got Watson, people will be shattered.
Supposedly Carolina really wanted him the first time, right?
They had to have. They have to still be in on him, right? Both Carolina and Denver, because how do they not take Fields? They have to be in on Watson or some sort of quarterback.
Teddy Bridgewater is QB1.
I agree with the Denver one more. Denver almost has to be.
It doesn't make sense for because the argument is they traded for Sam Darnold. They gave up a second for Sam Darnold. How does it hurt you to get Deshaun Watson also, and you have Watson and Darnold? Like the Cardinals did not just stick with Rosen. Like they're like, this ain't it. We're gonna get Kyler Murray. We're not gonna try and work through this. We're gonna get another quarterback that's best for our team.
I'm not saying I don't disagree with you, Panthers, but I think the Denver's even more erroneous. I just don't know. They almost have to have a plan in place to get Rodgers or Watson or something.
Yeah.
Because to pass up on Fields was crazy to me. They got a solid team that just needs a good quarterback.
Yep.
Anything else that stuck out to you guys, prices or otherwise, in this draft? And I know Trevin and Brent, I think this was your first auction draft. So just any thoughts in general you had after kind of going through at least the main part of it now?
It'd be a lot easier if everybody's available for auction at the same time, because then I would know how much to spend on everybody. But you think you got a good price, and then you see you got your quarterback 2 at a price you wanted, then your quarterback 3 goes for $15 less than what you just paid for your quarterback 2, and you're like, well, I guess that wasn't as good as I thought. So that kind of thing happens, but I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I liked it. The first day, I'm like, I don't know about this, and everybody kept on overbidding me, and I really want to get a stud quarterback like Josh Allen or Mahomes, but then I saw the prices. I'm like, damn. So after that first day, I really enjoyed it. That first day, I got Harrison Bryant. I didn't know what I was doing, so and I got him at $4. And now, looking at everybody getting drafted now, I feel like I really overpaid for him. So I'm kind of pissed off about that $4.
I don't think so. I think that's. I mean, I probably would have pushed it to $3 or $4 for Harrison Bryant right now.
Yeah, probably, but I like him, but maybe I don't like him as much as you guys. So I don't know.
Some of these other tight ends going for $3 or $4 are not that much different than him. So
that's what I'm saying.
I was kind of surprised with the tight end prices, especially with it being It's such a tight end premium league too. Like a guy like Waller went for like $35, which seems like
Your
a
Mark
pretty
Andrews one was the biggest
Mark
tight end surprise
Andrews.
for me.
I think that went up to like $23-24. I feel like I got to steal. I'm not even a big fan of Mark Andrews, so
Oh, I thought you had a 30 something, but I might be
No.
wrong.
24
God.
bucks.
I got Hawk at like 30.
Yeah, Hawk was 30, Waller was 35, and Kelsey was 45. I was surprised Kelsey didn't go for a little more, honestly, but that's
What
a
did-
fair price.
What did Kittle go for?
Kittle was 52. Right between Zeke and DJ Moore, price-wise.
Yep. I like auction because it helps you get your guys. Like you don't have to trade around in a snake to get your guy that you're able to pay up, get who you want. But yeah, you thought you had a rough first day. We didn't get a guy for a week.
I also like that you can't really overpay crazy amounts because you're always only $1 or tied with the second bid. So
I agree. It kind of makes
can't
it
really
feel
screw yourself too bad.
a little bit better. Like you feel like, God, I hope I didn't overpay for this guy. But there is just one other guy, just $1 below you, so that's got to make you feel a little bit better.
Yep. Or tied if it's a proxy, but John agrees Kelsey was a steal. So.
That is a steal.
Well, I'm glad you guys came around because I think you both said after the first day or two when I asked you that you weren't loving it. So
I felt a little in over my head during the first 24 hours, but it's been fun.
Oh, after the first week when I was starting to get my first guy and Aaron throws out, I'll trade my campus guys for more money. I was like, whoa, hold the fuck up, buddy. Hold up.
I was glad we didn't do that because, especially with your strategy, I would have felt like that was kind of changing the rules halfway through.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be like too pissed off because it hadn't happened. But I was like, I swear to fucking God, if we do that.
Yeah, I don't want the league to fall apart before we even get off the ground. Trevin's already always threatened me with mutiny, so
I got a quick mutiny finger. I'll kick any commissioner out as soon as I get the support behind me.
All right. I guess the last thing I was just going to touch on was we've talked a little bit about the strategy, and obviously we have the campus side still coming up with which we're just doing a more typical snake startup draft for that. But did you guys factor that at all into how you built your roster? Like I talked a little bit about how I intended to, but it didn't really work out. But when you're building your NFL roster, did you factor that campus side in at all to how you wanted to do that?
Not at all.
No.
I haven't even looked at how the campus side works yet, so I got to go read up on that. But no, not at all.
And we have a championship for the college side too, right? So it's not like you're just picking players to build your NFL team. You're trying to win both leagues too.
Yeah, that'd be a Debbie, right? If you were just
Yeah. So let me ask it in kind of reverse then. Now that you've got your NFL side, you kind of know what it's going to look like. Are you going to factor any of that roster construction into how you build your campus side?
I think so. It just depends on you get points for them playing like how good they do, right? In college.
Right.
So I might just try and win the campus side with guys that won't make it to the pros.
Yeah. Like kind of like you said, Levi, you said that your plan was to didn't you say that you want to get good younger quarterbacks right now? And now you feel like you have to get a quarterback early. So I'm going to look at my NFL team a lot when I'm drafting my college guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Duchesne's, you touched on something that'll be really interesting to see, which is, we have all of the FBS players. So you have players from small schools who may put up a ton of points because they're way better than the competition in those leagues, but they're not really going to be relevant players in the NFL for fantasy. And it'll be interesting to see who goes after those players maybe a little earlier and tries to win on the campus side at the expense of having better NFL prospects coming over to their NFL roster versus, who kind of values maybe the NFL potential more, even if they're not putting up points for the first year or two if they're like an Alabama incoming freshman or something like that, where maybe they have more NFL upside but less immediate impact on your campus side and how you value that. It'll be really interesting to see, I think, just everybody's approach on that side.
Mm-hmm. Is it just FBS?
Yeah, so I think in the player pool, I don't think Fantrax has FCS, which
Okay, good.
if we want to, we
I
can.
don't.
Okay.
I don't think we should personally, but
Because we could just keep track of it separately, but I don't know if that's worth the effort.
So a guy like Trey Lance would be in our open rookie draft next year.
Yep. And
I like
what I
that
was
better.
thinking, Duchesne's was like not keep track of it points wise, but like if you wanted to draft Trey Lance, you could have him and he would just take one of your roster spots. But
Oh,
you would get points
okay.
for
that
him.
might be all right.
Yeah.
I kind of like it being in the open draft after, but we're just spitballing right now.
I kind of lean that way too, honestly, because if we start doing it that way, it's one thing to like have a list of those players. It's another thing throughout the year to make sure that if we have adds and drops throughout the year, which is another thing we have to decide, that to make sure that they're reserving a spot for that player on their roster and not filling it all up. So I don't know. Lots of things to consider in this type of league for sure.
How many roster spots in our college team?
It's the same as the NFL, and the scoring is the same too.
Oh man, that's like damn. We're gonna have a whole college roster, 70 players.
35. And so that's why I'm kind of debating, do we just say no adding or dropping during the year and just have a draft every year? Because 35, you're going to have plenty to fill out your lineup every year. And then we don't have to worry about there's, the good freshmen that pop up or the players that pop up would be available in the draft next year as opposed to, trying to worry about managing the agency. You
could do supplemental drafts like twice throughout the year, like week 4, week 8. And do it that way because we'll have say a Joe Burrow pop out. That's just a possibility.
With 35 players on a roster, though, I think Joe Burrow is going to be rostered.
Yeah. I say no ads or drops during the college football year.
But I think the bylaws that are the template that I've used, Duchesne's, I think it kind of outlines 2 weeks during the year where you do have something like what you described.
Okay.
Page 36B.
Yeah. Article 7.
Yeah. That's probably enough bylaw talk for the podcast. Let's do our question of the week. Have you ever participated in an actual auction outside of fantasy football?
I have not, no. I mean, not a legit auction.
Yeah, the sale barn.
You bought some at the sale barn?
Yeah, when I was little, I'd go with my dad to the sale barn and we'd buy cows or goats or sheep.
No, I mean like something you actually did the bidding on and paid with your own money. But
no, he gave me the number sometime to raise my hand, but it wasn't my money I was auctioning off or spending. So no, I've never done it on my own, I guess.
Brent?
I remember being at the sale barn too, but I was a kid. I don't think so. Does eBay count?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
So besides eBay, no.
What have you bought on eBay?
Gosh, I don't know.
Bought some shoes with goldfish in it. That's a 40-year-old there.
Shoes with goldfish.
Jonah Hill.
I wish I could just buy them here. I wish it was that easy too.
I never have either. I went to the sale barn like you guys were talking
What
about.
is that? Is that something I should know about? Because
it's like where they sell cattle. And
is that like a thing from where you guys are all from, or is that like
yeah,
it's ag, like selling animals, buying animals.
It just sounded like something like maybe I should know about because you're like, yeah, I've been to the sale barn.
Yeah.
You haven't worked a lot of cattle, Duchesne's?
I have a joke that I'm not going to say, but no, I have not.
Well, that was a disappointing answer. Let's do a quick beer check. I got a Blue Moon 7-4.
I've got another one of these. I've got another one of these Prairie Ales. This one is a 11 alcohol percent. Jesus, I can't even talk.
How many have you had? Is this number 5
just
or
the
6?
one. Yeah. Called You Got a Horchata. It's an imperial stout with cinnamon, vanilla, and sugar. Pretty good.
Did you finish off the margarita mix?
Yeah, that's all gone. That was a 2-time deal. Dude, Shanes, what do you think about Brent's never having a margarita? They don't.
I think that's wild. I mean,
Yeah,
margaritas are fantastic.
Huh. I'm gonna try one sometime this summer. I promise.
The part I
let you
don't
guys know.
understand is how many opportunities you've had to have it and you've never tried it.
Yeah, I mean, I love going to Mexican restaurants, and I just, I just get water or a beer.
Next time you have something that's way too spicy, this is going to be a gripe of the week, I think, for terrestrial takes. Don't drink milk. That doesn't work. You want to drink something acidic like a margarita, something with lime juice, something that'll burn out the capsaicin.
Why is that a gripe?
Because people always drink milk and it doesn't work. And I've had many times where I'm like, you need to drink some sort of juice. Like, here's a margarita. And they're like, no.
Are you going to like pepper eating competitions?
No. I do eat a lot of spicy ass food, though.
Like Indian? What type of spicy food do you like?
I like it all. If it hurts, it's for me. I love Indian, Thai, Mexican.
Today I learned Duchesne's is a masochist.
Yeah. What are you drinking, Duchesne's?
I had some raspberry honey mead that was like a 6 out of 10. It wasn't that good. It just happened to be what was on my wall. I thought it was on my wine rack. I thought I had wine. But besides that, I got my signature big-ass mason jar of water.
Very nice.
And I'm still finishing off my Coors Light from the graduation. So probably one more week of doing that, then I'll be trying some new beers with you guys.
All right. Can't wait. Well, thanks for being part of the Fantasy Players Club, everybody. We'll have a new episode for you next week that will live stream on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook on Thursday night and be in your podcast feed by Friday. Until then, on behalf of Brent Hut and Trevin Cremosta and our guest, Duchesne's, follow him at Duchesne's_ on Twitter. This is Levi Valentine wishing you a great week.
See ya.
Yep.
All right, fellows. Brent, how'd graduation go?
Good. A lot of people. It was nice to see everybody. Had a lot of beer.
Duchesne's can't turn on their computer. got all those takes heating up the room over there. The hot takes coming out.
Oh, shit.
So went good, Brent?
Yeah, it did. Good drinks, food. Had a good time.
Was your family impressed?
What's that?
I was just asking what you had for the food choice for the graduation party.
I smoked 3 pork butts.
Nice.
And I grilled some brats and hot dogs. So, and other than the salads and all that stuff, but it was good. I had a good turnout and everything. So I'll be doing it again in 4 years when my youngest daughter graduates. So,
was your family impressed when you jumped through the table?
I'm saving that for later this summer. I did have a lot of beer, so I'm actually kind of surprised I didn't do that. But Lacey probably would have been pretty mad because we actually rented a bunch of tables, and if I would have destroyed one of them, that probably would have made our bill quite a bit more.
Anybody going to the expo?
I am not, unfortunately. Trevin doesn't even know what you're talking about.
I'm assuming some type of fantasy expo.
Yeah.
It's like a sale barn, Trevin.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean then. Where's that?
Canton.
Gotcha.
Huh.
When is it, Duchesne's?
August 15th, I think.
Nice.
I think.
You'll be back from your honeymoon by then?
I ain't going on a honeymoon.
What?
Maybe not. I mean, not till next year.
Take her to Canton.
Go to Canton. That's what I was going to say.
We just went to Cincinnati for the wedding last year. Yeah, the wedding's not even until October. So Could do the honeymoon before.
I thought maybe it
Come
was
on,
the summer.
honey.
What'd you guys do for your honeymoon? We went to the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio.
I want to wear a suit and I want to have someone filming it. Like I want to do a bunch of interviews with everybody. But that would be good for the honeymoon. Have her film the whole thing.
Every girl's dream. Now, Brent, your daughter was also at state track, I think. I saw your tweets.
Yeah, she made it in the 200.
Oh, nice.
She barely squeaked in there. She came in 24th out of 24th for time-wise, and she ended up getting 20th out of 24th. And that place, Omaha Burke Stadium, that's awesome. I don't know if you guys have ever been there for state track. That's something to see in your lifetime. So it was really cool. She PR'd, so she's happy. We're happy. So it was a good turnout.
Was the 200 still like the second to last event?
It was the very last event.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the only thing I did when I did track for a very short amount of time. And I was there for like 4 or 5 hours ready to run a 200. I was
Yeah.
I play baseball. At least I can play a game while I stand around and do nothing. All right. I'm going to head out, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Thanks for
for
this broadcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.